I wanted to share with you my experience of visiting the Lesnes Estate in London yesterday. I was keen to visit Lesnes because they've been effectively campaigning against demolition of their estate since about 2014, so around 10 years, and I wanted to see what we could learn from them. The Lesnes Estate is located just a 5 to 10 minute walk from Abbey Wood on the brand new Elizabeth line. This makes it a very interesting area in terms of attracting interest in development. It's just a few stops from Canary Wharf, where lots of bankers work. So this is potentially a very profitable area to be investing in. Walking from Abbey Wood Station towards the open house that they had on, I saw evidence of homes for sale, slogans like today, tomorrow, and together, coming from the Southmere, looks like developer. 1, 2, and 3 bed homes available through shared ownership and private sale. Shared ownership is certainly something that's been mentioned in the Ladywood regeneration, or at least shared equity. Details of that to be confirmed. Lots of advertising here. Interestingly, an award year 20-year regeneration project, Ladywood Birmingham, also 20 years. Walking further, evidence of a construction site, and some of the first evidence of the Lesnes Estate is there on the right. You can see nice, well-constructed homes with balconies, trees, a school nearby. The first evidence that I saw of any resistance to the development and demolition was this poster from the Lesnes Resistance. It looks like they have quite a bit of protests and parties. They had African buns and puff jaffa rice and chicken cupcakes. Most of the people who live inside the Lesnes regeneration zone, I understand, are Black or African Caribbean in background, which shares some similarities with the Ladywood Birmingham area, which is also quite diverse in its own terms. They had lots of signs of protests and occupation parties. One of the videos that I got to see during the open house even showed that they made a piñata out of Peabody. We'll talk about in a second, a housing association that they do not like at all, for good reason. Beautiful green open spaces on the estate. And here is some of the first evidence of who they don't like and who has concocted all of this. The director of Peabody, John Lewis, the person, not the store, they really wanted to meet with John Lewis in order to get their views on why they were doing this to them. It seems like, kind of differently to the Ladywood regeneration, which has a private developer who will be borrowing money to build homes from the bank. In this case, a housing association, Peabody, has taken over the estate, and they have been strongly involved in the demolition and creation of luxury flats. So understandably, residents have been quite angry that Peabody hasn't been looking out for them. All over the estate, there's evidence of residents fighting. Words like this, residents here to stay. What kind of charity would do this? I presume Peabody is a charity. Housing is a human right. Peabody has left many homes on the estate empty, which is a problem, especially given the long waiting lists that we have around the country for homes. Inside the open house, they showed some evidence of alternative plans. We're working on our own alternative plans here in Ladywood Birmingham. For them, a big thing has been alternative plans to retrofit rather than demolish the homes. It sounds like they've had a hard time getting listened to about this, even though they had very detailed and sensible plans for retrofitting. They've done assessments of the embodied carbon, which is something that we've been advised to do as well. Here's a map of where the estate is in terms of other parts of London, just on the right there and south of the river. You can see Thamesmead. That's where the estate's located. In terms of numbers, they had outline planning permission granted for the demolition of 596 homes, of which 411 were for social rent, so the majority. In the new homes, 1,950, only 368 would be for social rent. So this project, like many regenerations, actually decreases the amount of social rent housing. 173 freeholders and leaseholders lose their homes. This is an absolute travesty and indicative of everything that's wrong about regeneration proposals in the UK and housing proposals by the new Labour government to give developers even more power. I was reading in the BBC News just yesterday that there are plans to automatically kind of green light any urban regeneration development. Why would an urban regeneration development that fails to build more homes for people that need them, more social rent housing, more truly affordable housing, be automatically greenlit? It's beyond me why they would want to do that. We don't have a problem with the quantity of housing. We have a problem with affordable housing in the UK. They've done assessments of the environmental quality of properties and EPC ratings. This is similar to the Ladywood regeneration, in which they've started to talk about the environmental costs and will presumably use this as a factor in which properties will be demolished. So important to demonstrate where it is the case that our properties have good EPC ratings and are good for the environment. This is the part of the estate that hasn't been demolished yet, that shows what proportion and where are freehold occupied or vacant and Peabody occupied or vacant in different brown and blue. Lots of creative art, including creative art about community members. There's so many pictures of families who've been there for multiple generations. I didn't want to show this picture just because I wasn't sure about confidentiality, but I found this statement about Moina Mia and his grandchildren very moving. 3 generations of Moina's family lived on the estate. He loved to spend time on the street deck with his grandchildren and look out to the city. His experience couldn't be more opposed to the judgment of Farr of Margaret Hodge, who as heritage minister in 2008 ruled against listing the estate for heritage preservation. Anyone who wants to list that place should try living there, she said. It's simply not fit for purpose, and I cannot believe that anyone is trying to list it. They should try living in it or raising a family there. It sounds like Margaret should have spoken to the people who were living on the estate, like Moina, who loved it. Again, similarities with the Ladywood regeneration in the way that some of our councillors have spoken about the area and continue to speak about the area in such disparaging, belittling, and negative terms, and that's in direct opposition to the experience of many people living here. These are items that have been collected from around the estate as it is being demolished. The People's Archive found around the estate, please open. You can see evidence of a vase and children's toys. That was a quite nice way to try to preserve some of the history there. This is one of the rooms that's being occupied. You can see a children's desk. I didn't read this in great detail. If you'd like all of the photos of it, please let me know. It looks like it's a first draft of asking people their views about the demolition of Lesnes Estate. Here is a bed where one of the occupiers is sleeping. I did not completely understand what they were ticking off here. Potentially properties that had been demolished or moved out of or sold on to Peabody, but there was some sort of tally here. And again, lots of creative art. What is next for the Lesnes Estate? Well, they are currently asking London Mayor Sadiq Khan not to knock them down. Unlike in Birmingham, the London Mayor has the power to protect estates from demolition. So they are actively campaigning him to ask him to stop the madness. You can sign their petition, and I will link it at the bottom of the video.